Another night on the 58 Ford. Not exactly sure what I videoed the last time in. So tonight, my next goal is to get the headers installed. These arrived yesterday, UPS, from FPA Ford Powertrain Applications out in Washington State. The gentleman's name is Stan. Does an excellent job. My research showed me that these are one of the only headers that would fit this car with the FE block correctly. Maybe some minor modification to the clutch Z-bar. We'll find out. I want to try to get that in tonight as well. And I believe I will have to jack the motor up a little bit to get the headers in and possibly space the motor mounts up slightly. We'll see. So I'll get the engine hoist over here and get those going. But these headers are made for the 58, I think 57, 58, 59 Ford with an FE big block. And they have a few different options, mild steel uncoated, then they have a ceramic coating in this color, and then the bright silver as well. I opted for the gray. I think it looked nice on the black engine and keep a kind of a stock appearance. Real high quality stuff though. The welds are impeccable. The flanges are nice and thick. And they're all custom made to order. They even stamp your name and the production date, 11/14. Stamp your name in the flange. So let's get this car back down off the lift, get the engine hoist set up, and try to squeeze these headers in. More about the FPA headers. They include really heavy gaskets, all new hardware, and at the end of the collectors they give you these extension pipes here with the ball joint, so you can have a little more flexibility when you put the exhaust together. These aren't going to mount rigid, so these will have a little bit of movement in them. Again, all top quality stuff. So I'm actually going to try to pass the header up from the bottom before I go jack the motor. I've got the masking tape off the ports, and let's feed that up through and try not to scratch it. Well, that didn't take long. The header fits up from the bottom without jacking the motor, but I immediately see that the clutch bar pivot that's on the engine block has got to be trimmed right here where the flashlight is hitting, right down the bottom there. So I'm going to remove that, trim it down a bit, then reinstall it and give it another shot. So I took the cutoff wheel to the clutch bar bracket on the engine block and just nipped off that little piece here. That angle should be plenty to clear the header, and I left the ridge on the other side just to try to maintain a little bit of strength. So I'll clean this up on the grinding wheel, give it a quick shot of black engine paint, reinstall it, and see how it looks. Quick shot of Eastwood's underhood black, and get this thing back in the car, and hopefully we get the header on with no problem. With the little trim off the clutch bar bracket, header fits fine. You can see down inside there. Oh, maybe you can't. There it is. You can see the ball in the clutch bracket and the angle there, so there's plenty of clearance on the header. Let's get this one bolted up. Got lucky, no scratches, didn't drop it. A couple bolts started there to hold it. We'll just dab the next ones with never seize. I said dab the ones that never seize, not drown them in never seize. This is going to be a two-hand operation. The driver's side header's in. It was not an issue. It was passed up from the bottom, and I didn't have to disconnect the motor mount. I could only start one lower bolt, which was the front one. Basically hold the header while I come around to the top to put it in, and that made the other three lower bolts very difficult to install. But no worse than a lot of headers. And the passenger side, it won't come up through the bottom, but this side I did disconnect the motor mount. Got a black block of wood under the head there and jacked the motor up about 1.5 inches. And the starter will even stay on. It's not in the way. So I started the bottom 4 bolts with the lock washers. I'll slide the gasket on and drop the header in from the top. Should drop right in. Got the passenger side header installed, and I still have the motor jacked. I just let the motor down and a couple issues arose. I've got very, very little clearance between this flange here for the upper control arm mount and this pipe, and I let the motor down. They're literally 1/8 inch apart, which isn't bad, but it's pretty close. But the big thing is the collector actually touches the frame right here when I let it down. I can barely get my finger in there now. So there's really no adjustment that I can make on the header. So what I'm going to do is I dug up a couple of thickest alignment shims that I can find in the shop. About yay thick. So I'm going to drop a couple of these under the motor mount on that side, lower it down, and see what happens. Okay, with the shims right there under the motor mount, you can see them. I've got, it's still pretty close to the frame here. But we do have clearance on the collector, and I've got a lot more clearance there between the control arm mount and the second tube. So I think that's the ticket. I'm going to bolt this side down, not tight, bolt it down. I'm going to undo the driver's side and shim that to match, and that might give me even more clearance. Well, that's it. The FPA headers are installed. I ended up not shimming this driver's side motor mount. When I did jack it up that 1/4 inch, the collector over here actually came back in contact with the frame. So we're going to have to live with that. I was thinking about pushing the whole motor over to the driver's side a little bit, but that's going to create a problem with the steering box clearance. Just barely clearing the steering box on this side. So I think that's as good as it's going to get. As long as the motor mounts don't start flopping around, we'll be in good shape. So excellent quality on the headers, excellent fit, especially for what we have to work with here. There is no clearance in this application at all. The coating on these is really, really nice. Hardware was nice, everything worked perfectly. So the trick is to jack the passenger side of the motor, drop it in from the top on this side, and on the driver's side, come up from the bottom. And these things do look fantastic, so well worth the money. Definitely not cheap, but when you look at the quality and the fit and the materials, it is well worth it to do it right the first time, and I highly recommend these headers. I can't wait to see how it sounds.